All right, given any line AB and any point P1, that there is exactly one line that is both perpendicular to AB and passes through point P. So we're going to draw a perpendicular line straight through P. And how do we show that it's perpendicular is with this little mark showing the 90 degree. Okay. How many lines are perpendicular to a given line through a given point? One line. What is the shortest path between a line and a point not on that line? A segment, I mean, again, your words can be different on this, but maybe you say something like a segment starting at the point and ending at the line that is perpendicular to the line. All right, perpendicular bisector. So we did this last year in Math 1, where it's not only forming the 90 degree angle, but it is bisecting or cutting it in half. So a line, ray, or segment that goes through a segment's midpoint and intersects the segment at right angles. All right, label the endpoints of the segment of A and B, label its midpoint, label the length of AM as 5, and label the length of BM. So we're taking some notation here. So labeling the points AB, and then labeling its midpoint M, label the length of AM as 5, and then label the length of BM. Since it's a midpoint, it is also 5. Why can't a line or a ray have a perpendicular bisector? Lines and rays don't or do not have midpoints because they have infinite length. In order to find the middle of something, you have to be able to measure it. And you cannot measure the length of a line or ray because they're infinite. All right, so that's the end of the study guide. And now we're going to do some practice problems like what is going to be on the quiz. I'm going to make a part 3 video. No, I'll just continue. Actually, this is not too bad. Okay, so what's important here is the notation, how you show your work. Now remember, you're doing this virtually and you're doing a multiple choice quiz, but if I was grading you in class, this is how you would be showing your work on these. So what is the measure of BAE? Notice that there's no given angle number right there. We don't know how many degrees it is. We do know its linear pair right over here is 52. So we can first do some work in subtracting from 180 to get this. So here's the actual work we would show. We would show that the measure of angle BAE is equal to 180 degrees minus the measure of angle CAB. So this is the actual equation we write out so that CAB we know is 52. And then 180 minus 52 is 128 degrees. Now, when you show this work, you also show your justification on the side. You're going to go off to the side and say that the reason we could figure this out is for the rule of linear pair. A linear pair are those two adjacent angles that form 180. So we have to show our equation and the justification of linear pair. Let's go try the next one. What is the measure? Hang on, let's get a different color here. What is the measure of angle CAD? Oops. So this time we're going for this guy. All right, so we can say that the measure of angle CAD is equal to 180 minus the measure of angle CAB, just like we just did the one before. So we can say 180 minus 52, and that's also 128 degrees. And then the reason we put off to the side our justification is linear pair, because linear pairs form 180. All right, let's go try this last one in this row. What is the measure of angle EAD? So this time we're going for here. And so we're going to say that the measure of angle EAD is equal to the measure of angle CAB and the reason that these two angles are equal is by vertical angles are equal, vertical angle theorem. So we would say our final answer is the measure of angle EAD is 52 degrees. Don't forget the little degrees. And then we put our reasoning as vertical angle are equal. All right, find the measures of the angles in the picture below. Now, sometimes when I'm doing these, I like to just mark the picture so that I have all the angles and then I can just go answer it. For example, if I see that this is 85, look at the vertical angle across from that x. X is also equal to 85. If I can see that this angle right here is 20 degrees, and I see that the vertical angle to it over here is 20 degrees, I'll write that in. Now, I can do the measure of angle, let's highlight it. I can do the measure of this angle, let's call it BXF, by linear pair. So we can do the measure of BXF by linear pair in just a second. So if we need that, let's go see what they're asking for. What is the measure of BXC? So BXC is the one that's vertical to EXD. So the work that we're going to show is that the measure of angle BXC is equal to the measure of angle DXE. And that's my answer would then be 20 degrees. What's the reason that I put for this? I would put that it's a vertical angle, and vertical angles are equal. All right, let's go do the next guy. What is the measure of FXE? Measure of angle FXE is equal to the measure of angle CXG. Let me go back to the picture so you can see it. measure FXE, that's the 85 I drew in, is equal to the measure of CXG. So we can say that the measure of angle FXE is equal to 85 degrees. And again, the reason is vertical angles. Vertical angles are equal. All right, what is the measure of GXD? Measure of angle GXD. If I go back and look at the picture for this one, GXD is this guy down here. And so watch what we're going to do for that one. All right, measure of angle GXD is equal to 180 minus those two other angles. So measure of angle CXG, and we're going to subtract off DXE. So the other two angles were 85 and 20. And so if you take a calculator and subtract that, we get 75 degrees. And our reason that we can put for that one is linear pair. They form 180 degrees on that line. Now, some of you may argue, but that's not a pair, Miss Sanchez. That's more than one. So technically, you are true that these are supplementary angles that equal, but we can say that those add up to the 180 on the line, just like we've been doing. Okay, now let's go find the last one, BXF. BXF can be done a couple of different ways. That's this guy over here. And since it's vertical to the one we just found, that's one route to take. So I can say that the measure of angle BXF is equal to the one we just found, measure of angle GXD, which means that it is equal to 75 degrees, and that would be by vertical angles. You'll notice that on the APEX key, it actually says, it does it with the 180 work for linear pair. And both of those answers would be acceptable, whichever way you saw it as easier. All right. Oops. Here's our last three. For questions 8 through 10, A, B, and CD are perpendicular. What is the measure of angle APC? So remember that if two lines are perpendicular, and so we're saying AB, here's this line, and then CD, here's this line, and they want to know the measure of APC. Oh, by the way, there's a point P in the center. They intersect at point P. What is the measure of angle APC? So that's this right here. And because of the definition of perpendicular, we know that the measure of angle APC is 90 degrees. And that would be by definition of perpendicular. All right, what is the measure of BAC? BAC, so that's this guy right here. Notice that they're giving us two equations. So we're able to set these two equal. X plus 10 is equal to 2x minus 10. And then we're solving backwards for x before we find the measure. Now, why can we do this? Because those two equations are in vertical angles. And so here I go, minusing x. And then adding 10. I get 2x equals 20, or x equals 10. Now that's not the answer, that's just x. So now we go measure of angle BAC is equal to x plus 10, and I got that x was 10. So the measure of angle BAC I just noticed a mistake here. Sorry, guys. This shouldn't have been there. So 2x minus x should have been 1x. And then when I added 10, we get 20. So since this is not here, x is actually equal to 20. And so when I go back up here to plug it in, and x is equal to 20, that makes this 30. So the measure of angle BAC is equal to 30 degrees. And that's plugging in what we just solved and got for x. All right, finally, what is the measure of angle BAE? So we take the 4x plus 20, set it equal to 3x plus 40. Let's minus the 3x's from both sides. And then minus the 20. And then x is equal to 20. Since we get x equals 20, we now take that and plug that back in for this measure. So the measure of angle BAE equals 4x plus 20. And we just got that x was 20. So 4 times 20 plus 20, or 80 plus 20 equals 100 degrees. So the measure of angle BAE is equal to 100 degrees.